And I've got 10 o'clock on the mark, so we'll go ahead and get our broadcast started for today. We're out here at the 180th Fire Department. We're finishing up our tour, or halfway through our tour series with the 180th FD. We're going to go over Alpha 81X ray today. It's their big crash truck. And there's two of them out here. There's one red one and one green one. We'll figure out why they're different colors today. So I'll have one of the air guard guys come over. Introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name's Ken. I'm a firefighter here at the 180th Fighter Wing Fire Department, and it's going to be my pleasure today to introduce you to ARF 81X ray. So this is an Oshkosh T1500 that was produced in 2012. It carries 1,500 gallons of foam, or sorry, 1,500 gallons of water, 210 gallons of foam fire suppression agent, and 450 pounds of a dry chemical fire suppression agent called Purple K. It's got these big giant tires, and as you can see from the front of it, the front end is very sloped so that the truck can go off-road and navigate in an off-road condition in case we needed to reach a crash site of a downed aircraft that was not necessarily at the airport or was off one of the runways or taxiways, so that the truck has got good ground clearance and can navigate rough terrain in order to get there to provide fire suppression and rescue for passengers that are on that aircraft. I can take you around kind of compartment by compartment to show you some of the specialized equipment that we carry and things like that.
Yep, let's go around and take a look.
All right. So in the first compartment here, up high, we've got a bag that carries all of our special pins for the military aircraft. What we have out here is the F-16, and each one of those pins goes to a different component of the aircraft to act as a safety for different fuel tanks, the weapon systems, the pilot's ejection seat, and things like that. We want to ensure that all of those systems are safe before we do anything on the aircraft should we have an emergency. But that bag is specialized just to the F-16. We've got a throw rope bag in case we needed to throw that out to any victims that may be in or near the water and be able to pull them to safety. We've got an airline up here at the top on a reel so that we can hook up different types of air rescue tools and air chisels in case we needed to use that in order to cut through the skin of the aircraft or access other areas that we may need to. Moving down here to the second compartment here on the top, we've got a lot of our hand tools, same basic firefighting tools that are found on just about any fire truck, with a Halligan and an axe, bolt cutters, things of that nature, very standard in the fire service. And then down below we've got a 200-foot, 1 3/4 hose line that we can pull out to provide other rescue paths and things like that for the victims of that aircraft, to try to provide a path of egress for those victims, or even to make entry into the aircraft if needs be. Okay. Therefore, the truck at that point would become the primary egress path, and that would be for the fire suppression on the inside of the aircraft.
So that's just like a firefighter hose I would see on the White House fire trucks.
Absolutely
basically the same thing, right?
Yes.
And a lot of the tools are just the same thing, like you said, a Halligan and things. So a lot of the tools that the guys carry over here at the Air Force side, it's kind of just like the White House trucks. We carry the Halligans and the axes, things like that. So even though they're a firefighter over here at the airport, they're still a firefighter and they still carry some of the same tools. That's kind of neat.
Absolutely correct. Moving down to the next compartment, this is our exterior panel of the truck. All of this can be monitored from the inside of the truck as well. So it's a redundant system. You've got your different gauges and things that shows how much intake pressure you would have from your water supply, whether it's from a water tender or a static source, such as a pond or a river that we could potentially draft from, or even from hooking up to a water hydrant, fire hydrant. It's got our discharge pressure that shows us how much pressure we're giving to the hand line, so that it's not too powerful for the firefighters that are operating that hand line, but that way we can also ensure they're getting adequate pressure. We've got our spanner wrenches and our hydrant tools that, again, are standard to most fire apparatus. It's not a specialized tool just to the aircraft fire truck. All very standard stuff. And then moving on down the line, we've got, you know, more fittings and things like that for the large diameter type hoses compared to the hand lines that are typically 1 3/4 or 2.5.
So all the same adapters, again, just like on the White House truck.
That's correct. Here's our foam eductor system. Should we need to resurface the truck or flow additional foam out of foam buckets in case the truck is empty or the truck is using the foam system for other applications. More hydrant tools, hammers to help disconnect hose lines and things like that. Sometimes under pressure they can get stuck.
Okay.
Spare air cylinders for our air packs that we wear, so that we can continue to fight fire and perform rescue and things like that should we expel the full air system. And then moving here to the back, the rear two compartments, this one is open on both sides and in the rear also. This shows the access panels into the engine. It's a Caterpillar diesel engine. Produces roughly 700 horsepower. But we open up all these compartments every day to check all the fluids, the oil, the transmission fluid, and all the hydraulics, just like we do on all of the fire trucks. That's not, again, unique just to this truck, but every fire truck in the fire service usually has that done daily. Here's where you can access where the serpentine belt goes that provides power to all the different systems off of the motor.
So this is just like popping the hood, only the hood's in the back here.
That's right.
So the engine's in the back of this truck.
It's huge.
Because we saw how the front of the truck's made to go off-road, so it's got that little scoop on it, so we can't put the engine up front, so they had to put the engine in the back.
And here's just the other side of the engine, and then inside of this red box are the series of batteries, and they're huge batteries.
Okay.
And then one of the things that is unique to this truck, because it's an aircraft rescue firefighting vehicle, is inside of this tank is nitrogen. That is the propellant. That's what shoots the dry chemical agent when we need to use that. And above that is the hoist system. So the way that we use this is the whole contraption slides out, and there's the hook on the end of the hoist. And we can hook that up to it because that cylinder weighs a couple 100 pounds. And the guys are big and strong and they could lift it up there, but it wouldn't be safe to do so. So these guys were smart enough to engineer this type of system so we can safely lower it to the ground and raise it back up when we need to resurface that system.
So this fire truck on it somewhere has dry chem, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of like what's in fire extinguishers. It's that yellow powder. It's exactly what's in a fire extinguisher, and that's how they end up pressurizing it to shoot it out. So basically, none of the White House trucks carry any type of a dry chem agent. This truck's kind of a big fire extinguisher if you want to think about it, guys.
Absolutely. And then the only other thing in this compartment is a specialized, it's a little giant ladder, which is very useful for us because we can extend it out as far as we need to or make it as compact as we need to and reconfigure it in several different shapes based on the size of the aircraft and where the entrances and egress points are. That's a very valuable piece of equipment for us that is slightly different from the other ladders we use in the rest of the fire service.
Okay.
Moving down here below, we have a positive pressure fan that we would use to clear out smoke and things like that. Again, that is pretty standard on most structural fire trucks, but we would use it basically the exact same way to help clear out smoke in an aircraft cabin or flight deck. We've got our emergency roadside cones. We've got our resurfacing hose if we need to refill the truck from a fire hydrant. And then moving to the next compartment, we've got the Hoist hydraulic extrication tools. So we've got a dedicated cutter and a dedicated spreader. And then this is the ram that we would use to, when we're performing extrications, we try to remove the vehicle from the patient, not the other way around. We typically don't try to remove the patient from the vehicle. We'll crush or cut or spread the vehicle away from the patient so that we can perform our emergency medical procedures and then disentangle the victim that way.
Okay. So those are just like it says right on Hoist Jaws of Life. It's just like the extrication tools that we carry over at White House on our Engine 85. So very, very similar stuff. Even though this is a much bigger truck, we're seeing a lot of the same stuff.
And then to the front end of the compartment is more fill sites, so we can fill up the truck and reservice it, fill it back up full of water, again off of a fire hydrant or a water tender or a static source if we needed to. The fill hose, the controls, fittings, again all very standard to almost every single fire truck, not exclusive just to the aircraft truck. The next compartment is different types of fire extinguishers. Depending on the classification of fire is what would determine which one of these extinguishers we may use. They're much more portable than obviously the great big truck that we drive around everywhere. If we just needed to get into a small compartment on a passenger aircraft in the baggage compartment or a battery compartment, things of that nature, this does a little less damage to the aircraft components and electrical systems, and minimizes the impact on the aircraft and downtime for that aircraft. And that's why we may choose one of those instead of just pulling the line. Okay. And then again, just like on the other side, an 1 3/4 hand line, 200 feet, that another firefighter could operate on the ground. Again, very standard stuff for just about every fire truck. The forwardmost compartment on this side of the truck is this 200-foot hose line that only flows dry chemical agent. So there's no water that comes out of this. This is where that dry chemical agent comes out, and you can tell too that it's kind of a special type of a nozzle. It looks a little bit different than most other fire suppression nozzles. And that's how you can tell that this one is a little bit different and that it's special to a dry chemical agent.
Okay. That's something very unique to this truck, something that White House doesn't have, something that you'll probably only see over here at the airport. So very neat. Okay.
Would you like to climb up in the cab?
Sure.
Take a look there.
Climb up in and take a look here. Kind of go up here. Now this will be interesting. So here's a normal seat, just like what we see over at the fire department, where the air pack is built right into the seat. Sorry, I'm a little close here. Made by Oshkosh. If we look over here, we're going to see the exact same thing we've seen in all these trucks. We've got this computer here, and this tells them where to go and gives them additional information that's needed. This is kind of neat. Look here, they've got some joysticks. And what's really neat is, look where he's sitting. He's got the steering wheel. It's not on the left or on the right. It's in the center. So, very interesting.
And what's interesting about it is the fact that we've got all this glass on the front and down below, so we've got an excellent field of vision, especially as the truck is possibly traversing in the off-road position, type of mode to access an aircraft incident.
Let me switch over to the other side here real quick.
Sure.
So you can see a little better.
So even though we typically would have a minimum of 1 to 2 firefighters on this truck, and we can seat up to 3, the entire truck is designed for a single firefighter to operate all from this seat. So we've got all of our gauges that tell us how much water we still have in the tanks, all the standard, operating instruments as you would have on just about any vehicle. But we've got the FLIR camera that can detect heat that's mounted to the top roof turret. We've got the different joysticks that control both the lower front bumper turret as well as the overhead, what we refer to as the roof turret. And we'll take you out front here in just a moment, and you can see the difference between the two turrets. But as you can see, the big gun is the one on the top. That's the one that flows the most amount of agent or water or foam or whatever we select to provide fire suppression. And as I said, everything is designed with all of these switches and buttons to be fully functional from right here. The only reason that we would have to get out of the truck is if we had to operate any of the hand lines.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at the front here. And then, I understand, I think we're going to drive across here and go look at one of the other trucks.
Yes, sir. So, as we talked about at the beginning of it, the front end of this thing is angled up pretty severely. What's kind of unique about it is it's kind of shaped a little bit like an aircraft, just without wings, of course, but the whole point of that is so that it can go off-road and it doesn't damage or destroy the front end of the truck and keep it operational. Typically, the front bumper turret can be used to kind of sweep the fuel, any leaking fuel away that might be burning and things like that. And then we'll use the big one up on top, the roof turret, to do most of the firefighting. We can certainly apply this directly to the fire as well, but a lot of guys will use this to sweep away the burning fuel so that the truck can get closer to where that aircraft is.
Oh, gotcha.
It also provides something that we refer to as an egress path for the passengers that are on that plane. If we can put all that fire out and there's no risk, there's no hazard there, then they can just walk across the wet ground. That's not going to reignite.
Very good. Okay. Now, I guess that's about it for the truck. We've gone through all the compartments, so now we're going to go take a trip across the airfield and take a look at the other Port Authority. I understand you guys do testing on Tuesdays with this truck, right?
Correct. So the other truck it looks a little bit different. It doesn't say U.S. Air Force on the side, and it's lime green, which is typically seen at a lot of airports and things like that. That truck was formerly with the Toledo Port Authority. They're now in a law enforcement status only, so we look after their truck once a week and things like that. And when this truck may go out of service for maintenance, or if a part needs repaired, they're nice enough to let us borrow their truck, and we'll bring it over here and run it through its full function checks and things like that.
Okay, well, let's go take a look at it.
Yes, sir.
Where do you want me at, sir?
I'm going all the way across.
You're going all the way across.
Just so we're all safe.
Just like in the White House trucks, we got the seat belts. They're red so that everyone can see whether we're wearing them or not. And then we're going to go across.
Station A1, ARP-A81 X-rays, base area, airport area for training.
A19.
Set of ground, air guard, ARP-81 X-ray.
ARP-81 X-ray, please go.
Ground air guard ARP-81 X-ray is at Delta 1. I'd like to cross 25 over to National Flight East.
ARP-81 X-ray, crossing runway 25 at Delta 1.
ARP-81 X-ray crossing 25 at Delta 1.
You guys always have to ask before you go across the runway. It's a safety thing, isn't it?
Yeah, anytime you're on the airfield, you don't go anywhere without calling the tower, and they have to give you permission to cross certain lines on the airfield.
Very good.
Ground air guard ARP-81 X-ray is off at 25, hands off in the field with the National Flight East area.
ARP-81 X-ray, roger.
and take a look at Port Rescue 2, get that out of the way. And then after that, I think we've got kind of a special surprise for everybody. Not something that everybody gets to see all of the time. You'll get to see a function check with both of the Aircraft Rescue Firefighting Trucks, or ARF. And we've got a training aircraft over here that they were nice enough to give to us a while back, and we can drive the trucks around it and get good training and perform function checks with the trucks and things like that. So as we approach this truck, you can see that it's generally the same shape. It's not quite as wide, and it's just a smidge taller. So the other truck, the red truck, is a striker. This is referred to as a global striker, so it's several model years newer. There's still a lot of glass on the front end, and the front end is basically the exact same shape with that big angle to allow for off-road use. The truck is not and doesn't damage the vehicle as it traverses very rough terrain if it needs to.
So really, it's kind of the same truck, basically.
Just newer.
Just a little bit newer. Okay. Take a quick walk around it real quick. You see a lot of them are neon green when they're operating at airports. And you said we're going to do a function check.
Yes, sir. So what each of the trucks can do, and the aircraft that we're going to be using is actually over here. It's the white fuselage with the navy blue tail over tucked up against the wood line. And so typically what we'll do one day a week is we'll bring both the Air Force ARF A81X ray and the Toledo Express Airport that we refer to as Rescue 2. We'll bring them both over here, and the trucks will go and kind of navigate the trucks around that aircraft as if it was a downed or crashed aircraft. And they'll flow the roof turrets and the bumper turrets to function check the truck, but also give us good practice should that incident ever occur. So we've got a couple of different ways that we can do it if you want to.
Yeah.
You can view it and film from the inside of the truck and see what that looks like from the driver's perspective.
Okay.
And then either before or after, then we could stand outside and I can kind of describe exactly what the driver is looking for on that incident and how they're operating the truck and why.
Okay. So we'll start inside.
Fantastic.
Okay. So we're still at Toledo Express Airport. We're just over on the other side of the runway. We'll hop back into ARF 81X ray and go over and watch them do a function check. This will be similar to what most fire departments do a daily or a weekly check on their trucks. To make sure the pump works, make sure all the lines work, everything works as it's supposed to, so it's ready to go.
Sure. So what Captain Moore is doing right now is, as we approach the aircraft, he's just enabled the water system here, so he's engaging the pump on the truck, and then using the toggle switch here on the front, he's going to control just like with a video game joystick, exactly where he's going to apply the water to that aircraft that we're pretending is a real incident. And what makes this truck very unique, unlike many other fire trucks, is the fact that it has something called pump and roll capability, which means we can drive the truck while it's pumping water through a power divider. So that way it can provide power directly to the pump as well as to the drivetrain of the truck, so we can move around the aircraft and get to where any of the fire is and provide a rescue path for the victims on that plane.
And now this is really rough terrain back here, but the truck handles it just fine.
Absolutely. It has independent suspension on it and four-wheel drive, which means we can take it a lot of different places. They test one of these trucks on what they call the tilt table, and it can withstand a side or a lateral tilt of about 30 degrees, which is pretty severe for a truck this size.
Captain Moore is actually doing all that just with that little joystick down
All
there.
by himself.
We're just sitting here observing.
Just along for the ride. Now here in just a moment, Rescue 2 that we looked at a minute ago, we're going to get out of our A81X X-ray and we'll take a walk over a little bit closer so you can see what it looks like from the outside, and I can describe to you basically the exact same thing of what the driver and the crew is looking for when it comes to performing fire suppression and rescue.
Thanks, Captain Moore. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks.
So here comes Rescue 2. Cognizant of the physical size of the truck and to be cognizant of where the truck is moving, just because it is so big. And it's important to remember too that the passengers are going to need to take into consideration. We need to make sure that the passengers are out of range of these big moving fire trucks, because most fire trucks, once they get where they're going, they stay in one spot. Crash fire rescue trucks are not that way. They're moving around trying to get the best angle on where that burning fuel may be and providing that egress path for the victims coming off of that aircraft. But again, as you can see, that entire truck is being operated by a single operator in the center position of the truck, where he's driving, looking, seeing the angle that he needs to get to, and operating the roof turret or the bumper turret all off of those joysticks.
I just noticed it looks like there's even like headlights on those nozzles.
Absolutely.
So they can illuminate and see what's shooting that water.
Oh, and here comes our A81X X-ray again. They're going to make another run at it. Captain Moore has just actuated both the roof turret and the front bumper turret, so he's got a lot on his hands between the gas and the brake control pedals to propel the truck forward and control the speed, the steering wheel obviously to steer the truck where it needs to go, but then two independent joysticks of where he wants both of those nozzles to spray water or the chemical or the foam agent.
So he's using both hands, both feet, all engaged.
All at the same time. And then at some point after the truck has got the majority of the fire knocked down, that's when one of the trucks, if there's an additional firefighter on it, or if we respond with the engine or any of our mutual aid departments like White House, that would come to assist with this type of an incident. That's where we would have those firefighters with your regular basic firefighting hoses that every fire truck has, make the approach to the aircraft and then fight fire on the inside of the aircraft if there was any, as if it was a structure fire.
Looks like Rescue 2 might take another run at it here. See, he's moving that nozzle up and down on the roof. Getting it ready for where he was going to spray water.
Now, one of the other things to remember here too as well, being the Toledo Express Airport, you know, we have these two large aircraft rescue firefighting vehicles. Last week you looked at the RIVs, the Rapid Intervention Vehicles, which are also classified as aircraft rescue vehicles. Sometimes at much larger airports like Chicago O'Hare International or Detroit Airport, even Columbus Airport, it's not uncommon to have 10, 12, or 15 of these great big ARF trucks, just like what you're seeing now, all at the same airport.
Looks like Captain Moore parked for a second, got out of his seat. He's getting something there. Looks like he's going to hop out for a minute. So, I think what we'll do is we'll come out here and we'll say thanks to the 180th for showing us a good time today, showing us the trucks and how they operate, showing us both how the Port Authority truck works and how the Air Force truck works. We're going to come back next week and take a look at their structural engine and see what they can do. Looks like actually Captain Moore's throwing out a hand line, so he's going to spray some more water here. We'll take a look at that. And other than that, I want to thank you guys for letting us come out.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys.
So, I'll flip it back around. We'll watch Captain Moore here for a few more minutes. And we're still on, so we can still narrate if we have to or want to. Here comes Rescue 2 again. And like I said, guys, this is all part of that weekly functional test that they do over here at Air Guard Fire. They test both these trucks each week and make sure everything works. So Captain Moore wants to make sure that the hand line works. So they just put a little 50-foot section on for us to take a look at today. I know what I wanted to ask.
Yes, sir.
Last week we were talking to Firefighter Askins, and he was wearing camouflage gear. I see today, right there he is, and he's wearing blue gear. He looks like a firefighter today.
That's correct.
So what's the difference there?
So Firefighter Askins is what we refer to as a dual status firefighter out here at the Air National Guard in Toledo. So there are some days that he's here in military status where he's wearing his Air Force uniform, that Air Force camouflage. Today, however, he's an MCA state employee. MCA is a master cooperative agreement that the military has with the state of Ohio, and the navy blue uniform is what he wears when he's in state status. So we have many of our firefighters that are in that dual status, where sometimes they're in the military camouflage and otherwise in the blue for state status, and that's why you see those two different uniforms.
Okay, very good. Firefighter Askins has that hand line there, and Cap Moore hopped back up in the truck, and so he's going to charge that line and give him some water.
You can see Firefighter Askins, what he's doing there in that big sweeping motion like that is typically he's spraying that over towards that right front door. We would refer to that as the R1 doorway, and he's swooping that nozzle around to clear away any flammable fuel that may currently be on fire or might ignite on fire, so that we could go in through that R1 door to effect rescue of any passengers that may be on board.
Okay. And with that, I guess we'll conclude today's virtual tour. Thanks for attending, and watch for the upload on YouTube, and thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.